Well, now, greetings, folks, and welcome back to the deep dive. So glad you've carved out some time to join us
Yeah,
today.
good to be here.
Sometimes a story just comes along that grabs hold of your spirit, makes you stop, and really consider what it means to be truly strong, to be, well, dangerous in a meaningful, purposeful way.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into just such a story, one that offers a profound lesson on inner resolve and what it means to be ready for the challenges that life, by God's grace, might throw our way.
That's right. Our source for this deep dive is it's a compelling motivational speech titled Five Habits to Become a Dangerous Man.
Yeah.
And it stems from a truly harrowing real-life experience of a seasoned law enforcement officer. Now, the title might make you think of physical prowess or external power.
Sure, yeah. First thing that comes to mind.
And while those things have their place, this deep dive isn't primarily about that. The speech touches on several habits, sure, but the officer's own story powerfully illustrates one foundational truth. It really underpins all the others.
And what's that?
The absolute necessity of internal resolve. So our mission today is to extract the deepest insights on genuine strength and preparedness.
Really?
Not just for those, extreme situations you might see on the news, but for the quiet, unexpected challenges that might arise right here in our homes, our communities, maybe even within our own hearts right here in Overton County.
It's close to home.
Yeah, I think this dive, it'll challenge some of our common assumptions about what it truly means to be capable in God's world.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit then. We're focusing on a gentleman named Dwayne. And about 7 years ago, he took on a stint in law enforcement that, well, many of us couldn't even fathom. He was serving way up in remote Bush, Alaska.
Way up there.
Now imagine that for a moment, folks, just how far that is from the gentle hills around Livingston. Dwayne was 49 years old, and he was the only law enforcement officer in a tiny, isolated village up the Kobuk River.
The only one.
Yeah. And the temperatures there could be a bitter 20 below zero. Picture that cold, y'all. You could practically feel it chilling you right to the bone, even way down here by the Cumberland River.
Oh, absolutely. A different kind of cold entirely.
And he'd only been there about a week, barely knew a soul, completely alone in a place that starkly tested a man's spirit.
And that extreme isolation is absolutely critical to understanding the profound vulnerability Dwayne faced.
How so?
Well, in these Alaskan villages, he wasn't just on shift alone. He was truly the only official presence for miles and miles. He tells us there was no dispatch, no radio, no partner, no backup.
Wow. No backup at all.
Nobody else to call on, nobody else to take a shift or offer support. He was the sole law enforcement officer, sometimes in a village of just 100 people, sometimes more, but always, unequivocally, by himself.
Hard to wrap your head around that.
It really is. Then, around 2 a.m. one morning, he received an anonymous cell phone call.
Anonymous.
And the report was grim. A domestic violence incident, alcohol involved, and critically reported shots fired.
Oh, boy. That's the trifecta right there.
Exactly. This type of call, a domestic violence situation, is statistically the most dangerous for any law enforcement officer to respond to, period.
Right. We hear that often.
And to respond to one alone, with the added elements of alcohol and gunfire, well, that just amplifies that danger exponentially. It's an almost unheard of level of solitary risk, placing him squarely in the path of potential wrath.
So here's where it gets really interesting and where the rubber meets the road for Dwayne's spirit. He gets the location, somehow, and heads out to this house. It was one of two houses built up on stilts right up against each other. And the house he needed to reach had this narrow, tricky set of stairs, maybe 12 to 15 steps leading up pretty high.
Yeah.
At the top, there was a hard 90-degree turn onto a tiny landing, only about 3.5 feet wide, just wide enough for the door itself. So nowhere to go but straight to that door. No curve, no easy retreat.
A real bottleneck.
Yeah, exactly. And halfway up those stairs, he stopped. He describes this as a defining moment in his life, a moment of profound internal reckoning. He looked down, as he put it, into the well of his soul.
Wow. The well of his soul.
Yeah. What do you make of that, this idea of looking into the well of his soul in such a moment? What was truly at stake for him there?
That's a powerful image, isn't it? It signifies a deep internal confrontation. It goes far beyond just the physical threat he was facing outside on those stairs.
Okay.
It wasn't about whether his body could physically climb the rest of the way or, engage in a struggle. He was confronting something far more fundamental, his deepest resolve.
His resolve.
Yes. He asked himself two profound questions. First, Can you do what needs to be done?
Okay, the ability.
Right. But then, perhaps even more critically, will I do what needs to be done?
The willingness. That's different.
Completely different, and this wasn't just some theoretical exercise for him. For Dwayne, what needs to be done specifically included the willingness to use lethal force if necessary.
Right there on that landing.
Right there. Think about the profound personal and professional weight of that decision. Especially, as he points out, as a white officer in an Alaska Native village. He knew a shooting, no matter how justified it might seem in the moment, would bring all kinds of court, all kinds of trouble, both legally and emotionally.
Yeah, the aftermath.
Exactly. And he reflected on the immense burden of carrying the fact that you shot someone. That, he said, is not a light thing. That's not an easy thing.
No, I can't imagine it would be.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it highlights that genuine strength isn't simply about what you can do physically or intellectually. It's about what you are willing to do. What your spirit is prepared to embrace, even when the personal cost is immense and you feel completely alone. It speaks to a deep moral courage that goes beyond mere training or policy.
It certainly does. A deep moral courage. Now, you might be thinking, okay, he's alone in Bush, Alaska. It's 20 below, facing this impossible situation.
Yeah.
Surely he's armed, right? He's law enforcement.
You'd think so.
But the source tells us he was legally unarmed as far as a firearm.
Legally unarmed.
Now, Dwayne expressed a very strong opinion about this legal restriction he faced. He stated that he believed it was foolish to be unarmed due to what he described as idiotic left-wing politics. Now, we're just reporting his perspective here.
Right, his view on the matter.
But it highlights his deeply held belief in personal preparedness over what he saw as impractical rules, especially in such a dangerous environment. So, despite these legal limitations, how exactly was he prepared, practically speaking, for what could have been a deadly encounter?
That's a crucial point, and it really speaks volumes about his profound sense of personal responsibility, especially when facing bureaucratic limitations.
Okay.
Despite being legally restricted to only carrying things like OC pepper spray, tasers, and a baton, Dwayne made a personal choice. A choice he felt was necessary for survival in that environment.
Which was?
He secretly carried a 1911 pistol.
Ah.
He kept it discreetly zipped into his external ballistic vest carrier so it wasn't visible to others. When he stopped on those stairs in that defining moment, that internal reckoning, he unzipped his heavy Arctic coat and then his vest to get that 1911 ready, just in case.
Made it accessible.
Exactly. And he also strategically positioned himself. He backed up against the railing, maximizing his distance from the door, trying to gain even a slight tactical advantage if someone came bursting out.
Smart thinking under pressure.
It really is. And this decision, it raises an important question for all of us, doesn't it? What do we do when our personal sense of responsibility for ourselves, maybe for our loved ones, clashes with external rules or circumstances?
That's a tough one.
It is. It's about being ready for the undeniable reality of a situation. Maybe not just adhering to an ideal, especially when lives are potentially on the line. It really underscores a deep personal commitment to being effective and capable, even if it meant navigating let's say, a gray area.
What a powerful illustration of conviction.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean for us? Dwayne, armed now, ready, with that internal resolve settled deep in his soul, he finally knocked on the door.
Right, the moment of truth.
And he hears nothing. Just silence. No screaming, no gunshots, no fights. He mentioned that the extreme cold, he says, made sound carry phenomenally well up there. So silence in that environment was truly silence.
Yeah, you'd hear anything.
So after listening intently, confirming no immediate danger, he zipped back up his gear and returned to his office. The immediate crisis had passed, and by God's grace, no shots were fired.
Thank goodness.
But this experience wasn't just about that one night, was it? It fundamentally shaped his entire philosophy on what makes a dangerous man. A philosophy that truly resonates, I think, with the kind of inner strength and moral fortitude we believe in right here in Overton County.
Exactly. Dwayne's core definition is profound, and it's really the central habit he emphasizes throughout his talk. He says, danger is not external. Danger is internal.
Internal.
Oh.
Unpack that a little.
Well, he argues that physical fitness, intelligence, charisma, those things alone aren't enough to define a truly dangerous man. He believes many outwardly capable individuals might still fail in a truly dangerous situation. Not because they lack physical or mental ability, but because, as he put it, they have never looked down deep inside and said, will I do what needs to be done?
Back to that willingness again.
Always back to that. The key he asserts, is the internal willingness to ask that question first and then commit to action, to meet danger head-on with a clear and unwavering spirit. He defines a dangerous man as a man who prepares himself mentally, emotionally, and physically to meet danger with danger.
Prepared in every way. Mind, heart, body.
That's it. And this isn't about seeking out conflict, not at all. It's rather about being ready, truly ready in every fiber of your being when conflict finds you.
Right.
And he emphasizes the ultimate level of sacrifice and commitment. He says, there is no price I will not pay for my mom, for my wife, for my children, for my grandchildren.
That's powerful. Total commitment.
It is. He even goes so far as to say, in this deeply resolute tone, that in protecting his loved ones, they'll never find your body. It highlights an absolute unwavering commitment, a willingness to give everything.
Wow.
This willingness to sacrifice, this deep internal resolve, that is the bedrock. And he connects this to the reality of the world today, citing examples of what he calls inexcusable behavior. You know, from large-scale acts of violence to random street assaults.
Things we unfortunately see.
Right. Stressing that such behavior demands a prepared and resolute response, not an excused or ignored one. It's about being ready to act for what is good and right, even when the world around you may not be. This foundational willingness, this internal truth, is what empowers all the other habits of a truly dangerous, truly capable person. It's the spiritual bedrock, really, upon which true readiness is built.
What a powerful deep dive, folks. It really challenges us to look within, doesn't it?
It sure does.
To consider what we're truly willing to do, not just for ourselves, but for those we love, for our families, for our neighbors, for our community right here. It makes you think about what it means for you to be ready, right here, right now, for whatever life, by God's design, throws your way. Whether you're tending your garden out in Rickman or driving the roads near Monterey.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating that deep internal resolve that Dwayne found in that moment on those stairs.
Yeah.
It truly reminds us that our greatest strength often isn't in our muscles, but in the unwavering conviction of our heart.
Well said.
Now, before we go, if this deep dive sparked a fire in your spirit, and you found some truth in it, do us a favor.
Please do.
We'd be mighty grateful if you'd take just a moment to like this deep dive. Maybe leave a comment with your thoughts, perhaps what stood out to you most, and subscribe so you don't miss another deep dive.
It really does help us reach more good folks just like you, spreading these important conversations.
It truly does. And as we close out today, from our hearts to yours, all you fine folks tuning in from Cookeville to Crossville, Gainsborough to Jamestown, and everywhere in between.
Yeah.
Let's offer up a little prayer, as we do sometimes. It's for all of us, every single soul out there, that we might grow in grace and strength. May we all be blessed with the strength to face our trials, the wisdom to discern truth in a world full of noise, and the courage to stand for what's good and right for ourselves and for those we hold dear. May peace fill your homes and your hearts, and may you know, deep in your spirit, that you are never truly alone. God bless each and every one of you.
Amen to that.
And a big old shout out to everyone listening. We appreciate y'all more than words can say. Until next time, stay curious, stay strong, and keep on digging deep for the truth.